soon as Tim gets done yakking.
I got rid of it.
Okay.
Pretty quickly.
Okay, I'm
Up
gonna,
to Dan too.
I'll do the roll call.
I don't think there's
Tim
any-
Riley?
Yeah, it's empty. I checked it.
You gotta say present, Tim. I can't
Oh, I'm
go-
sorry,
I can't move on until you
I'll
say
get the
present. Rajamar.
Here.
Howard Hellman, this is.
Here.
Okay. We don't have any action items. We don't have any new business. We have no old business. We do have a treasurer's report. It's the usual, if you want to just take a quick look, it's the usual 2 or 3, actually it's the same 2. Berard and Harris Beach, one for our monthly bookkeeping, the other one is for our compliance work.
Somebody like to make a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Second, Raj? All in favor?
Aye.
Carried.
With that said, I can. Sure, we called to order at noon. There was no action items, no new business, no old business. Board reviewed the treasurer's report. There was no comment. Motion by Tim Riley, seconded by Raj Amar to accept the financial report. And that's it. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Raj, second, Tim, all in favor? Aye.
Okay. Okay, IDA. I guess I'll call to order again. Tim Riley, Raj Amar,
Here.
Howard Hellman.
Here.
So so we do have one item.
Just before you do the labor policy.
You want to do the, okay.
Yes, I would just like to just kind of a moment of silence for Eric and all that he's has done for this organization. And I would also like to put forth the motion that we name this room in his memory and have a little plaque and ceremony with his wife and family here to do that.
So, make the motion?
I'll make the motion. I think it's a great idea.
Second. Thank you.
Okay. For new business, number 1, what we wanted to do was we talked about it last meeting and we'd like to adopt it. Is just to let you, I don't even think we have to have a resolution, we're just going to implement it. That the labor policy will now be effective upon inducement. If we all recall, that was stemmed from that there were occasions where there was projects that work was going on, but we hadn't closed, so they were kind of working without any policy in place. So we tweaked our policy, now it's effective immediately.
Have you been behind the bars? It's gone.
Amazing.
Yeah. And that's the one that keeps coming back to me because we haven't closed on them. But, and I'm not, you know, but it's just, wait a minute, we gotta fix it. So here we go.
Start again.
So typically what has happened is with our labor policy we adopted, we have to use local labor from the 7 counties. We typically wouldn't have that go into effect until the project was ready to close. And that could be, in some cases, 6 months from now. So we found occasions where companies were doing a lot of work, demolition work, site plan work, all kinds of work, but they weren't bound by the labor policy. They could use whoever they want. So we've amended our policy to say, okay, the labor, you know, the requirement of using local labor is effective upon inducement, kind of closing that little loophole. That's all. Now, so far, just as a point, I haven't found a lot of pushback from any project regarding this local labor policy. It's very liberal. You know, the only pushback we've had is some people who wanted to use people from the city or Rockland, Bronx, or northern New Jersey, something like that, but so be it. But the policy seems to be working, and Low Keeper's doing a great job so far.
Do we need to have a motion for that?
You know, you could probably not a bad idea to do it.
Ed, you want to make that motion?
Sure. Amending the policy, yes, I'll make it.
Tim, second.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
One thought I have is we probably should amend the labor policy specifically state that this will go into effect on.
Yeah, we will do that as well. Yep.
Thank you.
I thought that's what we
You know,
were
there's
doing.
chips and
I
stuff.
thought that's what I was told. No.
Well, yeah, we're
Actually
implementing
put it
that
in.
policy, yeah.
Actually plug it into the written policy. So everybody's clear.
We'll implement
Hey,
it
Raj.
by getting it.
The reason why I keep bringing it up is Novartis, you know the Novartis site?
Yeah.
We've induced them, the buildings are gone. So between inducement and closing, they've done tons of, and I mean, they're doing nothing wrong. But it's like, wait a minute, what, you know, they literally have demolished just about every building up there. They've got, I'm sure, 100 people working up there. And they fall outside the labor policy right now. That's all.
Right. So anyway, it's, all right, if we're moving right on, Heidi, do you want to call Avon folks to come in?
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is kind of a continuation that they're shutting down that site over in Suffolk. And this is really an implementation of what's already in their agreements. I know Lane O'Brien, Rudy, one of you guys want to maybe give a
Hello.
legal
Hi,
overview
everybody.
of what we're doing today.
Slide in over here. Is that-
Anywhere you'd like to sit.
Anywhere.
Right, thank you.
Hey, everybody.
Well,
No, just Heidi's.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
yeah, I mean, if you take a look at the resolution, they closed in 2003. I think they had sales tax, mortgage tax in the pilot back in those days, but they've done everything. The pilot actually would be expiring on September 12, 2024, and they want to terminate early. And they're willing to make all the payments that would come due through the expiration of the pilot. So, they created the jobs, they have a beautiful building there. I think they've done everything that they agreed to back in 2003. It's up to the board.
And we're implementing, or a resolution is just memorializing what's in the agreement for this very type of occasion. I guess.
Right, and just another point too, this was done at the time, 2003, because now you have leases, lease backs. Back then it was done by deed, so technically the IDA has title, if you will. So upon termination, we have to execute whatever documents to just terminate and bring title back to Avon. So because that construct was, back 20 years ago, that's how they did these, but we don't use that construct anymore. So the resolution is basically saying, look, they'll pay the rest of the remaining pilot, and whatever we need to do to effectuate the termination, we'll do.
And we do have several folks from Avon, if you want,
As a Suffolk resident, I only have one question. Do we have any idea what's gonna happen up there?
I'm not gonna let my client answer that. But just by way of introduction, I'm Seth Mandelbaum, counsel for Avon. This is Michelle Dory, Avon, Michael Katz from Actia, their real estate advisor. I don't know to what extent you can answer that. There is public information out there, so.
We have marketed the property. It is currently under Avon's senior management review. We do not have a purchaser for the building as of yet. But as soon as we do, that will come to light. And I'm sure they could potentially be coming in with the idea.
Okay, thank you.
We are looking at the best for the community.
Tim was interested in purchasing it. So.
We already, according to Lino, we already own it.
Pay for that extra. In a weird way.
And garage sale signs going out front.
And he wants to make sure there's no contingency.
Yes.
I like these meetings.
On a serious note, if I can, I just want to thank you guys for being such great neighbors for 100+ years.
Absolutely.
135.
135. And, the economic contribution that you made to Suffolk and Ramapo and Rockland is great. We're disappointed to see you go.
As somebody that's personally being impacted as well, I'm very sorry to see that.
What are you gonna do with the brick?
We have multiple bricks. I'm
Okay.
happy to give the IDA one of them.
Yes, we want one of the bricks.
Yes, that
Yes.
is my
Original
contribution.
bricks.
From the original
I am,
building.
I'm working as
You'd be
part
doing
of
us a
the
favor.
commissioning to memorialize Avon in the community, and I'll be working with, a lot of the local businesses, to see, what we can do with some of the artifacts and things.
And I will
It was
continue to
California Perfume,
use Skin So Soft.
wasn't it California Perfume Company or something?
Originally, yes, it was a California perfume
Very
company.
good. Got
I
a
was
bad
there.
feeling we're gonna get a pallet of bricks delivered.
We're gonna take
One brick.
What I can tell you is we'll take
That's not
that
as
message
expensive to
back.
get rid of.
We'll take that message back to their leadership.
Please do,
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you. And we'd love, if there isn't, an extra brick, I'm serious, we'd love to display it here.
I'm sure that could be right.
I will make
I am
it-
more than sure.
Can we also get a bottle of Skin So Soft?
Now we're
I'm
going
sure
for
you'd
it.
want to use it.
That's
but-
If you're already gonna
We can talk wholesale. We can talk
Our
wholesale.
client is in jest, don't worry.
Let the minutes reflect.
So we do need a motion from somebody to make the motion to,
I'll make the motion.
authorize me to sign. Okay,
Roll call?
Good luck.
okay, Peg Zuggabee,
Yes.
Tim Riley.
Yes.
Roger Marr,
Yes.
Howard Hellman.
Yes.
Okay, you guys are, we're going to put your
Thank you
terminated.
very much.
Thank you.
I probably should have said that like Arnold, but okay.
And, so, Lino, can I just get a copy of the resolution?
Yep. I'll take it over to you.
Okay, well, I'll follow up with you on the next steps. Thank you all very
Thank you
much.
so much.
Okay, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Take care.
For all your help.
Thank you.
Sorry, take your seat.
Yeah, no, that's okay. It's nice meeting you.
Take care now.
Okay, Michelle, we'll talk. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I guess, Heidi, you want to call Montebello Gate yet?
In the lobby, they display one of the original. And it was California Perfume Company or something. We started in something 120 years ago.
Mid-35.
Yeah.
This is the-
Yeah, 100
Yeah,
years.
the attorneys have to prepare for you to do the financing.
Wow, look at this. I feel like I'm in old school here.
Welcome.
Hey, hello, everybody.
How's everybody doing today?
Yeah. So my name is Paul Lamb. I'm the attorney for the applicant Montebello Gateway. This is Beryl Carniel, who's the manager, and Campbell Fleischman, he's the CFO. So back in February of 2022, the board approved benefits for mortgage tax and sales tax exemptions. And since that time, expenses have risen, and their projected costs are up 25-30%. So they're looking to increase the mortgage benefit. Originally, they had estimated 12,457,000, and now that number is ballooned to 17,600,000, and their expenditures of 5.5 million are now up to 9 million. So they're looking to increase the exemptions that the board granted last year.
So some of us around the table might not have been here when you came to us way back when. So if you can maybe just give an overview of the project and where it's at this point.
Okay, so the project is a 46,000 square foot office building in Montebello. It's on North Airmont Road between Montebello Road and Executive Boulevard. Everybody knows where the old Crown Plaza is.
Is this one on the corner of Rella Boulevard?
Right. No, not Relic.
The other
Across the
side.
street. So it's between,
It's across the Village Hall.
it's west of North Airmont Road, right across from Village Hall. So it's a vacant land. We received the site plan approval for this office building from the village. We went through a very significant review by the village, by their Historic Preservation Commission, the zoning board, the planning board. We came to the IDA because they needed some help with the exemptions to build this building, otherwise they wouldn't have been able to fit the bill, and that's what we're here for, to increase that benefit. So I don't think you've done anything there, right?
We have a permit to build it.
You've got your permit, but other than that, you haven't started any construction. I believe they're still waiting also on a pilot program that I think the town has approved, but I think we're still waiting on the village. Yeah. I'll show you a rendering, if anybody wants to see the proposed rendering.
It's a nice
I'm more than
building.
happy to pass it around. It's a beautifully designed building. It's nice glass. Originally, somebody wanted some brick, but we went to the glass, and the planning board was very careful on the type of glass to cut down on reflections and didn't make it seem, they didn't want to see into the building. They wanted to reflect the outside landscape, so it would appear woods. So,
And you have tenants for the building already, or not yet?
And Paul, or anyone, I mean, this cost increase, it's not a reflection, I believe it's not because there's been any redesign work of the, it's just very common, we've been seeing this increase just by time elapsing, that the costs are just jumping significantly.
yeah, the cost, and I think from what Kamish was telling me now, is that when they came in, those were just their projections. I don't think they had really hard figures based upon actual proposals and cost estimates from contractors and vendors. And now that they're getting down to the nitty gritty, those numbers have been finalized and they're much higher than what was anticipated based upon 2021's numbers.
So this is just for core and shell, or is this for tenant fit up also?
This is without tenant fit out.
I'm sorry, what?
This is without tenant fit out.
All right, so it's just a core and shell. Okay.
Any other questions?
So there's no money, there's no provisions for the tenants as far as this tax relief?
There's a $2 million budget. For
Is
that.
it $2 million piece for fit up work, is that? Okay.
Any other questions? Anybody like to do the resolution? Amended resolution? Okay, Raj, I'll move. Second? Second? Peggy, seconds. Okay, roll call?
Okay, Peg Zugby,
Yes.
Jim Riley.
No.
Roger Marr,
Yes.
Howard Helm.
Yes.
Okay. Motion passed 3-1. Okay, you're induced,
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
or authorized, you're reauthorized, amended
So we'll
authorized.
get an amended,
We're gonna send you a resolution, copy of that
Resolution,
resolution.
hopefully at this point.
We will-
move ahead with that.
Also, we will be sending you, now that you're authorized, final authorization, under our labor policy, we'll be sending you, the labor policy requires like local labor, not prevailing wage, local labor to be utilized, and we'll have somebody reach out to you regarding that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, everybody.
All right, thank you.
Have a good day. Bye now.
Just make sure everyone has signed in on your roll. Okay, great, thank you.
It's going to be, Kamish, who's handling the finance closing fee?
The attorney, I believe it's gonna be Mark, one more.
Yes, I think I emailed you all the information. Okay. Good to see you.
Okay.
Anybody?
You all?
Have a nice day.
Thanks.
Take
Bye,
care.
Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is, we're gonna move through these things pretty quickly. Point 72.
All right, we're ready for point 72.
Yeah, I mean, you almost could say you went over all.
Good afternoon.
All right, so point 72 is a proposed addition to our data center cluster here we have in Orangeburg. That the request is for sales tax exemption. I think you are coming into the One Ramland Road facility. And this is similar to projects we've done elsewhere. We're working with the Ramland Road folks as far as filling up that data center.
It's not an addition.
This is an additional tenant of the data center. Yes, this is
Existing space.
So I guess, and they're looking for sales tax exemption only, obviously. If you want to tell us a little bit of the board, a little bit about the company, and that'd be great.
172 is a hedge fund headquartered in Stanford. We have offices, I think it goes with 75% or so of the staff is split between Stanford and New York City, with the rest being satellite offices around the world. Our primary data center spaces are both in Connecticut now, and this is a proposal to diversify and separate the two a little bit for redundancy purposes and things like that. I said it's within the existing footprint at 1 Raymond Road, so it's part supplemental renovations and then the equipment for the space.
Are you a retail data center?
It's for our own use.
It is for your own use?
Yes.
Okay.
They're gonna be at 10, 5047.
Yeah, no, I know.
So are you moving one of the data centers from there, or are you keeping both there and then doing an addition here?
So it'd be like, from my understanding, I'm more on the construction team, but it's like a slow kind of retreat out of the one as servers and items go end of life. So it'd be mostly new and expansion.
Got it.
Yeah, rather than
Trying to upgrade the system while it's active.
right. Yeah. So rather than the next wave of replacements being there, they would be used for the initial big kit.
So, what does .72 do?
They're a hedge fund. So
Okay, thank you. That's, yeah, that's, got it.
Okay.
And for the board's just edification, this is similar to other like-kind resolutions that we've inducements that we've done within the same building.
Same,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we'll call for vote.
Yeah.
So first,
Make a motion.
I'll move
I'll second.
Tim seconds. Roll call.
Okay, Peg Zugby,
it. Yes.
Tim Riley,
Yes.
Raj Amar,
Yes.
Howard Hellman.
Yes,
You've been induced. Okay, so,
that was easy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
and just so you can go back and tell, induced means that you've been provided the approval for the benefits. There's a closing process with all the paperwork and things that we'll follow through with, but we'll follow up with them in direct.
How much room do they have that left down?
we're taking only 5,000 feet, and the room that we're taking, I think, was around 20,000.
Okay, so
So
that's,
that's what I understand is left of what's already built.
right, the one building.
Yeah.
Okay,
But beyond that, I'm just tenant.
yeah, right, okay.
They've been talking about putting another building.
Yo, their original proposal was a couple of buildings down there.
Yeah.
So hurry up and fill up this one so they can put up a couple of.
If you're involved in construction, upon inducement, you're subject to the IDA's labor policy. So I don't know which attorney will be closing the deal, but we'll get, if you could get us that information, we'll get a checklist out and just, you want to look at the labor policy. It mostly has to do with attempting to utilize local labor.
All right, good to know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good luck.
Okay.
Stephen probably should introduce them to Loki Borough.
Oh, well, we're gonna do that with everybody.
Yeah.
You know, start now, normally what we did, which is a good point, Ron, glad you brought up. Typically, what we would do is we would hold off, after inducement, we would send Loki Borough the application, the inducement resolution, and we just would all sit tight until the project got authorized, and there was kind of a closing anticipated. Now, we just sped everything up. Now Loki Borough will get all these things immediately. Okay, I guess we
Spring
want
Valley?
Spring Valley Marketplace.
What?
Really?
I didn't,
That's his hedge fund.
that's his hedge fund. See, a hedge fund to me is a guy who cuts you.
That's a hedge trim.
Hey, guys.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having us stop.
Very well.
So this is a follow-up to the original meeting, and then there were some questions. There's been some discussions back and forth, and based on some feedback from board members and some discussions with the applicant, they've amended their request that they're seeking a pilot from us, as compared to asking for other exemptions as well. So their primary focus is the pilot, and in turn, if the board does induce that, then they realize it's incumbent to them to sit down with the village, town, we'll help facilitate that as needed, as we always do.
We don't need a motion for that.
Yes.
Oh, we have to induce it. We have to
Oh,
induce.
okay.
So now this is just for a pilot.
I don't know if there's any questions, or anybody had any other questions about the project?
So it's just a do for a pilot.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
I'm sorry, Peggy, second?
Yeah.
Okay. Peg Zugby,
Yes.
Tim Riley.
Yep.
Roger Marr,
Yes.
Howard Hellman.
Yes.
That was easy, guys.
Yeah, nothing to it.
That was almost anticlimactic.
All right,
I'll be in
thank you.
touch, Richie. Thanks for coming.
Have a good day. All right.
All right. I thought this was gonna be a long meeting. No, we're not. All right.
All right.
I'm going to
Guys are up.
introduce these projects and treat them. I'm gonna talk to,
Oh, sorry.
Hi, everybody.
Yes, no, go ahead, ask you.
You guys want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Brian Sampson, work for Related Affordable in our acquisitions and development group.
Katie Wheeler, also on the acquisitions and development team at Related Affordable.
Dave Pearson, also with Related Affordable, I'm the executive vice president that oversees the acquisitions and redevelopment team. So, just real quick on Related Affordable, we focus really exclusively on the preservation of existing affordable housing throughout the country. So we don't do a lot of new construction affordable, but it's really focused, the mission is really focused around ensuring that existing affordable housing both stays affordable for the long term and also is improved. So that's what we're here to talk about today.
so just for purposes of expediency, there's 3 resolutions, the 3 components of this. They're technically 3 separate projects, but they are similar in nature. For the ease of discussion, we'll have to take, votes on each individually, but maybe as a point of just an overview, and I'll ask Dan or Ron if you guys want to maybe give a snapshot of what the request is and such. But we're going to kind of treat it generically as all 3, since we're all right by each other. Maybe, we can talk a little bit about where they're located, give people context as well, which.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, just for the board's edification, each of the applications are asking for tax exempt bonds in varying amounts, and of course, that would have to, you have to get some cap for that. Also, sales tax exemptions, exemptions from mortgage recording tax, and then the pilots, which of course would have to be negotiated between the applicant and the local taxing jurisdiction. So that's true for all 3 of them. And I would note that in the end of section 12, and I did I spoke with Katie about this as well. Section 12 does make specific note of the inclusion of the labor policy starting, should these be adopted today. The idea is labor policy would come into force at the inducement phase. So other than that, it has these typical provisions that we've had in the past for these types of projects in the inducement.
And these projects, just so everyone knows, or maybe you want to give a quick overview of what you plan to do there and where they're located.
Yeah, sure. And just one note as an update to our request, we're actually not going to be looking for new pilots anymore. We have existing pilots on each of the properties, and we're just going to continue those properties. They go out to 2047.
We will induce you for that should your mind change anyway. There's, but you simply just wouldn't take advantage of that incentive.
Oh, and if you want to come back here in 2047, how about it?
We'll probably have some sandwiches left over.
Let me mark my calendar now.
Yeah, so the 3 properties, Warren Knolls, Walnut Hill, and West Haverstraw. 2 of them, Walnut Hill and West Haverstraw, are both located in the town of West Haverstraw. If you know where the West Haverstraw Elementary School is, these 2 properties are literally right next door. And then about a mile or 2 down the road is a property called Warren Knolls. It's right off of Gurney Avenue in Haverstraw. So brief overview, our plan is to do a large scale renovation on each of the properties. We'll be renovating the units, getting all new kitchens, bathrooms, flooring, painting, also do a lot of site work at each of the properties, and also upgrade the community rooms. And then along with the renovation, we'll also be preserving the affordability of all 3 properties. Warren Knolls and West Haverstraw each have Section 8 contracts that covers the entire property. So we will be extending those contracts by an additional 20 years, which is the longest allowed by HUD. And then in addition to that, we will be signing up new extended use agreements with HFA for the tax credits, which will limit the income limits of the tenants that can come in to 60% of AMI. And then lastly, on Walnut Hill, that property is not subject to Section 8. That property is an expired 236, which is a program that basically regulated rents, and they were below even tax credit rents. That 236 expired in September of last year, and at that point, we've been allowed to raise rents up to max tax credits, which we have not done in order to not burden the tenants. So what we've done is the expiring 236 actually allows us to apply to HFA and HUD for Section 8 project-based voucher contract, which is what we've done and are currently in the process of getting that contract. It's expected to be in place in July or August of this year. And that's going to be for about 100 units at the property. And that will lower the rent burden on all those tenants that receive that contract. They'll only have to pay 30% of their income towards rent.
For the other units, the reason that they're not getting that new project-based voucher program is because they currently have existing tenant-based vouchers. So the way the HUD 236 program works, when it expires, any resident that does not currently benefit from a tenant-based voucher is eligible to get this new project-based voucher contract. And so they also have to meet certain income limitations, but there's about 100 that are eligible under that criteria.
So you're going to apply on that third piece of property you were talking about for Section 8 after you renovate.
We're actually doing it concurrently.
Okay,
we're
so
doing it right now.
if I don't qualify for Section 8, what happens to me?
Nothing. Nothing happens. I mean, the rent will go up a little bit, but it would still be capped out at tax credit rent, which is a rent set by.
And the point is, if I don't qualify for Section 8, theoretically, I could afford the rent.
Correct. That's how the program is structured.
Yeah, the program is set so that residents pay 30% of their income towards rent. And so if at a point somebody's income is higher, so high as to the low income housing tax credit maximum rents being less than 30% of their income, then they wouldn't qualify for the program. That rent that they would still cap out at is still less than 30% of their income.
Are these all within the Haverstraw umbrella?
Yeah, and they are affordable, so the discussion, if that's what you're asking, this is a complete different scenario regarding market rate housing. Just as a point of explanation, there was a debate about market rate housing elsewhere. You're a whole different category, so what we're talking about right now isn't even relevant to your project, so just confirming that.
Yeah, and the other thing, I'm not sure if Brian mentioned, but they're all currently senior designated properties under the HUD program that exists today. So basically what that means is it's 62 plus at the time of move-in. There's a small set aside for non-elderly disabled residents as well to move in. And so the vast majority of the residents are on Social Security and sort of limited income.
So I'm just gonna ask, you're gonna renovate complete kitchens, bathrooms? What are you gonna do with the tenants while you renovate, especially people of that age?
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about relocation?
Right. So typically what we'll do is we will hire a third-party relocation coordinator, and they specialize in these types of renovations and relocations. And they will find a hotel, typically a one that's like a suites hotel. So they have a kitchen in there, and then we will hire movers, we'll move their stuff out, we'll move the residents to that hotel for about 2 weeks, and they'll live there while we renovate the unit.
Is that still unlisted? Is that guy's number unlisted?
They usually end up finding my phone number.
So I'm assuming that your construction per unit might take about 2 weeks.
Yes, so a typical unit takes about 2 weeks. We also will follow HUD's Americans with Disabilities Act guidelines, so 5% of the units will have to receive full ADA upgrades.
Right, yeah.
Those might take up to 2 months, just to widen doorways and all that.
How old are the units now, do you know?
How
The
old?
properties were built in 1980 and 1979, and
So
I think
they're not ADA compliant right now.
they're not fully.
Yeah, they went through a renovation about 15 or 20 years ago, depending on the property, and so there were some upgrades made at that time, but certainly the current guidelines are a little bit more strict. And what we'll often try to do, and we'll sort of see as we get closer to closing, but if there's a few vacant units, we'll keep those offline and renovate those first, so that anybody who more convenient to stay on the property, we'll try to have also an option for some residents to be able to stay on property in a different unit while their unit's renovated and then go back to it. It's a whole sequencing that we're still working through and working with the relocation coordinator. We haven't identified the hotel yet, but that's a huge part of our budget and the process that we go through.
Are you getting any HUD financing for this?
No additional financing other than the section 8 for the residents.
What about your local place, like your hallways and all that? Are you gonna be renovating that? So you're gonna be doing that while the residents are in place?
Yes.
Yeah, so these properties have exterior entrances into the units. There's not really hallways in the building.
Okay.
But there are, we'll be doing, there'll be some other work that sort of goes on concurrently throughout the entirety of the rehab project. So like roof replacements, right? And where we're doing windows, those, and some of the mechanical systems, that work will be going on in a different sequence than necessarily like, an individual residence unit. And so what we try to do is make sure that we're communicating very frequently and often with the residents, so that they understand sort of who's on site. Our contractors all are required to wear, vests or a certain type of clothing so that everybody knows who's a contractor on site. And we have, through our property management company and also our construction management company, people that are on site daily to like make sure that we're assisting with the residents and their concerns and questions. So there may be, somebody has come back to their unit because their unit is done, but then a month later that roof is scheduled for replacement. And to the extent that we need to provide accommodations during the day while that work is going on, if it's noisy, then we sort of work through that on a case by case basis.
How long do you think the project will take to get to where you want it to go?
So each project individually is probably a 9 to 12 month renovation, but we plan on them sort of working concurrently. They'll stagger a little bit. So I'd say for all three from start to finish, it'll probably be about 18 months.
And can I just ask, the West Havister on the Walnut Hill, they're on the same footprint?
Yes, so yes. There's one road that goes down the middle.
Yeah.
Walnut Hill is on your left if you're looking at the elementary school.
Okay.
And West Haverstraw is on your right.
Okay.
Yeah. Walnut Hill has those flat roofs. Walnut Hill has those flat roofs, very 1980s.
That's what
design.
confused me when you said West Havister on Walnut Hill. I was trying to figure out where West Havister was.
West Haverstraw Park.
I thought they were all Walnut Hill. Okay.
So are you gonna make the flat roof pitch roof, or are you gonna leave it flat?
We're still working on that
Yeah,
design
that's a
detail,
big
because
job.
there's some windows that would potentially get blocked if we ended up doing pitched roofs on the whole property, but drainage there from the roofs and, with the balconies that are there.
Yeah.
There's some complexities around the civil engineering that we're sort of working through right now. But I want to improve the aesthetics of the property.
And maybe just very quickly regarding, and I'm sure you saw in our application, our labor policy, upon inducement, you're subject to it, but I think as we all realize, you're not going to start work next week. So, but you'll hear from some of the company called Low Key Real. They'll reach out to you just to make contact, so you're familiar with what the requirements are, and it's pretty liberal, I think, from our perspective. But you'll hear from them as well. Okay.
Great, Steve.
You're not dictated by prevailing wage dealing with HUD, are you?
No, we're not.
That's what I asked about.
Yeah, we're not potentially on Walnut Hill maybe because of the new project-based voucher contract, but we're still working through that with HUD to see if it does apply.
Okay.
Because that's sort of a separate thing than the rehab, but the other two definitely not. And then in terms of our timeline, so we've applied to HUD for the renewal of the project-based Section 8, which is a 90 to 120 day process typically. And then obviously, presuming that we're successful here today, and you're all successful in getting the allocation of the bonds into the IDA, then, we can move pretty quickly on our financing structure. We're planning to use a Fannie Mae credit enhancement type of loan product, and work with, low-income housing tax credit investor. And I think we can be in a position to close in, probably 4 months, and then the renovation would start very shortly thereafter.
Well, I'd like to say that you're doing something that really is such a value to the community. It's needed, and it's even though you're in this for the profit, you're really doing
Well, maybe not, it might
a
be
great
better.
service and doing a little homework on your company. You have a stellar reputation, so glad you're here.
Thank you very much. I mean, Stephen Rouse, our founder, built these back in, with Bill Helmer, built these back, 50 years ago. And so it's great to continue to be able to improve them, make sure that they continue to remain affordable housing. So we're really proud of what we do, and we think we do it the right way. We're always available if anybody has concerns. If we misstep, we get it fixed. That's what I'll promise you.
So I guess if we want to do these in order, maybe let's do Warren
Yes,
Knowles
let's
first. If somebody wants to make a motion to approve the Warren Knowles inducement. Okay, second?
I'll second.
Okay, Peg Zugby,
Yes.
Tim Riley.
Yes.
Roger Marr.
Yes.
Howard Hellman.
Yes.
Okay. Walnut Hills, someone want to make a motion? Peg Zugby, second? Okay, Peg Zugby.
Yes.
Tim Riley.
Yeah.
Roger Marr.
Yes.
Howard Hellman.
Yes.
Okay, finally, West Haverstraw. Someone want to make this motion? You have a second?
Tim, all in favor?
Tim, your turn. Okay. You second? Okay. Peg Zugby?
Yes.
Tim Riley?
Okay.
Roger.
Yes.
Roger Marr, sorry, I already wrote it down, yeah. Roger Marr and Howard Hellman.
Yes.
Okay, so you're induced.
Good luck.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll be in touch,
Appreciate it.
obviously. We'll send, inducement. Our typical process is we'll have it signed off locally, and then we'll send you copies for your signatures, and we'll go from there. We'll be in communication.
Great.
Okay, thank you for coming in.
Thank you very much. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Help yourself to a
You
sandwich.
get a sandwich. You get to take a bag of chips if you're induced.
All right. I'm having a cookie.
Take care. Thank you. Nice seeing you.
All right,
Okay, that's gotta be the toughest job in the world. Which?
Moving senior citizens.
Absolutely.
Moving and seniors, senior citizens like
Doing
that one.
anything.
Oh,
I don't
That's
envy
right, Joe.
them.
The third parties, his phone better be unlisted.
But don't you think that moving 3 locations, I mean, 3 different projects at the same time would be
Oh, the
difficult?
logistics.
I mean, financially, it's more, has a value to it, sorry, but to move, maybe 5 from here, 5 from here, 5 from here,
Yeah.
it's not easy.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a cost structure to it, even if you put them in a hotel for 2 weeks.
They're a very big company and they're very experienced.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they are, but I'm just saying that must be that.
And Heidi, you may want to mention that in the course of Heidi is going to a housing conference up at Pomona Fire Training Facility tomorrow.
Yep.
So, tell them what we're up to.
Yeah, I think there's a whole section on affordable housing in the county.
Okay,
Your
well,
labor report, it's in your book, if anybody has any questions on it.
yeah, it just as a kind of just a general update, Low Key Grill is firing on all cylinders. Manhattan Beer has been nothing but cooperative and accommodating and everything. Admiral's Cove has gotten on board, so it's good news. The reason I'm making a point of this, Admiral's Cove kind of had one foot in both sides. The project started when we had no labor policy, and when we induced and authorized them to be get additional sales tax exemption on the next phase of it, we transitioned the whole project to our labor policy. So it took a little bit for the contractors and the subs to be kind of get on board, you know, as far as what was required. I think they got a little blindsided, to be frank. But I've been following all the emails. Kevin Lokey includes me on every email, and you can see there's a complete turnaround as far as the level of cooperation seems to be going right along how we would want it.
Great. And I'm a little confused. The sheet here with Manhattan Beer, it says their total monthly compliance average was 67%. I thought we were gonna be at 80%.
They were, that was because we gave them an exemption on one of their contractors,
Okay.
the door.
No, that's fine.
Yeah,
You know.
no, and that's I'm glad you brought that up, because we do have in our policy an exemption policy if someone, and there happened to be some people that had installed doors, for example, these big garage doors, pre-pay labor policy. There were guarantees, there were all kinds of warranty. It just wasn't practical to bring a different vendor in, you know, so that's the example of that though, but these folks are right on target.
Any other questions on that report? If not, Heidi, I guess you're next.
Yeah, so we just wanted to mention, I've been doing a lot of these roundtables in the county and a lot of meetings. One of the people I met with was Sandra Bleckman, who is at RCC in a new position. She is the Director of Workforce Innovation and Industry Partnerships. And if you all have in front of your binder kind of a write-up of her new program, and RCC has listened to, at all of these meetings that we've been to local industry talking about the difficulties they're having finding workforce, and RCC would really like to help in that. So they're really expanding their certification programs and whatnot. So that's a really great thing. Within that, one of the things that they like to offer is a summer internship program for students. And they like to offer the students a stipend to do that. And so we were thinking, I had talked to Howard and Steve about this, that perhaps the IDA could be involved in that in some way through a scholarship program, and knowing what RCC meant to Eric, perhaps we could in some way honor him in that program. So I don't know what the details of that would be involved. That's kind of.
Maybe I'll chime in at
Yes.
this point. So again, if for those who weren't aware, Eric was almost as long as I've known him, and Howard, I'd say when you say for 20 years, you know, see forever. Eric was very, very involved in RCC. It was on their board, on their foundation board. So we're looking at this program, and right now we're looking at globally and saying there could be some constraints as far as what an IDA can do. I don't know, for example, if we can actually do scholarships per se, but maybe we fund a program that can provide so we're looking at the particulars of this. And if the board is inclined, I think what we're looking for today, and this is a continuation of how we started with Heidi before, if you guys are inclined to say yes, she'll start to flesh it out. We'll start to do the homework of what constraints or not constraints we have as far as what we can fund with the IDA funds. And if we can work out something, I think it'd be a nice gesture for us to have it somehow in Eric's name as part of our participation. So I don't think we need really looking for a resolution, but
No, just a
kind of a nod that yes,
yeah,
keep working.
Is that something, based on our new program, is that something you'd like for us to explore?
Well, I'm in support of it for sure.
Yeah.
Education is always a good thing.
Yeah, and I'm really impressed with what RCC is planning to they want to be a pipeline from high school through a certification program into local workforce. It's a nice program.
Seems it fits nicely
Yeah.
into our wheelhouse about spending some of
Yes.
the county's funds, if you will, to reinvest it back into tomorrow's future.
Yep, and some of the employers that they work with are actually our projects, so it's really directly, it's really in our wheelhouse.
So can you give some more details on our
Yes,
next
so I have a
meeting?
meeting on the 25th up at RCC, and we'll begin the process of gathering the information. So next meeting, I'll report back.
Great.
And I guess we'll be setting the stage for what qualifies for the scholarship.
Right, we'll have to look at it, and I don't know for a fact, but there may be some constraints as far as what IDA, state's very particular about what we can spend our money on, and we may have to be, I don't want to say creative, like we're trying to get around a rule, but we have to see what we can do. Like, we may be able to fund a program that in turn provides scholarships, as compared to us just writing scholarships, or something, we'll have to look into this. But I think it's a good program.
Yeah, that would be what I would focus on.
Yeah.
Because I'm concerned, Eric aside, with the fact that I don't want to get into the avenue of just people being aware or exposed to money. We better make sure we have rigid rules on how this works. Otherwise, we're gonna have people knocking on our door.
Well, it's
But
like,
then they qualify. If
right.
they don't qualify, they don't get it.
But and that's my point, Raj. What are the qualifications?
Well, that's something we have to discuss. Once we do believe that we want to move forward.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
it's kind of like a loan program. If you don't manage it tightly, it could get away from you in a heartbeat. So we'll do our homework on it. I think it's a good cause.
When you scholarship, you get a certain dollar towards
Right.
school.
And we would never run the program. That's what.
Right,
what's in it? Yeah.
And Sandra's very, happy to work with us. This is something she's done before, so I'm sure she's gonna have a lot of thoughts on how this would get set up.
Yeah, and maybe appropriate time we could even have her come and talk to the board.
And she's already offered to do that. She would love to come talk to us.
Okay.
What I'd like to do now is to go into executive session to discuss, what would be entitled this?
Board appointments.
Board appointments.
Can we do that? Is that
We're left.
Okay. We will table our financial review, but as far as the CDs, if the board endorses it, then I will go out and I will shop out, our CDs with M&T Bank and TD. I'll call a few different banks,
Get the rates.
and then we'll make a decision on what the best rate is and we'll go.
And as long as they conform to what Orange given us is with the security.
Yeah, and that's gonna be the stumbling block, but we'll look into it.
Okay. All right, want to read the minutes?
Howard has a
Do your minutes.
relationship with M&T.
Okay, meeting was called to order at 12:03 by Howard Hellman. Resolution to provide a tribute to our past chairman, Eric Dranoff. Was motion by Tim Riley, seconded by Raj Amar, all were in favor. As an aside, before I move on, what we were talking about was doing a kind of a plaque outside the door. We'll come up with some nice words to it that will name this conference room after Eric, along with some words that acknowledge, smoke them if you got them, will be in there, yeah. All right, new business. The board adopted, motion by Peg Zuckerby, second by Tim Riley, motion to labor policy that will go into effect upon inducement. All in favor. Resolution to terminate the Avon project. Brian Quinn and Lino Sharetta provided an overview. Michelle Dory and others talked about the property and what was happening with it that is currently being marketed. Chair Hellman said, thanked Avon for being a good neighbor for all these years. I'll make those words a little nicer in my actual minutes. So a motion by Tim Riley, seconded by Raj Amar, all in favor to terminate the project. Montebello Gateway. Council Paul Baum, representing the company, talked about how the expenses have risen 25 to 30% since their original authorization for the construction of a 46,000 square office building. They are still currently in the approval process and still negotiating a pilot. Following discussion, motion by Raj Amar, seconded by Tim Riley. No, not seconded by Tim Riley, seconded by Peg Zuckerby. You didn't second it and vote no. The result was 3 yeses and 1 no regarding the amending resolution. Project Point 72 resolution is they are locating a data center, existing data center on 1 Ramland Road. The application is for equipment, furniture, fixture, equipment related to a data center. Motion by Peg Zuckerby, seconded by Tim Riley, all in favor. Spring Valley Marketplace, the board continued discussion review of the Spring Valley Marketplace request for incentives. It was noted that the applicant had pulled back its request for sales tax and mortgage tax and was seeking only authority to negotiate a pilot. With that said, motion by Tim Riley, seconded by Peg Zuckerby, all in favor. Representatives of the 3 affordable units, Warren Knowles, Walnut Hill, and West Havistra, came and provided an overview of their request, which would be the renovation of these existable affordable and senior housing projects up in Havistra, West Havistra. Following discussion and overviews by the applicant, Warren Knowles was approved, induced. Raj Amar made a motion, seconded by Tim Riley, all in favor. Walnut Hills, motion by Peg Zuckerby, seconded by Raj Amar, all in favor. West Havistra, motion by Peg Zuckerby, seconded by Tim Riley, all in favor. The board reviewed Local Bureau's monthly report, and that the executive director reported that they are on target with their monitoring and it's working smoothly. Operations manager Heidi Van Diver talked about an overview of a workforce program being developed at Rockland Community College, and the board authorized her to go ahead and continue to look into it. I'll flesh that out a little bit more to see if there's a way that the IDA can support that program within the constraints of how we can spend our money, and that if possible we would do that in a way that would also honor the memory of Eric Dranoff. Board went into executive session, motion by Tim Riley, seconded by Peg Zuckerby, all in favor. Board came out of executive session at 1:15, and the meeting was adjourned. Or
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I guess Tim, second Raj, all in favor? Aye.
Okay.